Now, if you think that the Greek crisis is scaring investors off of Greece, that may not be entirely true. Why? Well, it's being reported that the actor Johnny Depp has now bought his own private Greek island, and also that Brad Pitt, no less, and his wife Angelina Jolie may be considering the same move. Well, the website Private Islands Online has a number up for sale, as you can see here. Take a look at the island of Omphori behind me. That one is being offered for around about $60 million. It's available freehold, partially developed, and covers around about 4.5 million square metres. The real estate agent describes it as an earthly paradise. This map shows you all the Greek islands that are up for sale, just in case you're interested and have some spare cash in your back pocket. Vladi Private Islands is the name of that website. Some smaller islands on this site cost less than a flat in central London. Now, we can talk about this with Michelle van Vuuren. She's a managing director at Sotheby's International Realty, and she's in our London studio. Thank you very much for coming on, Michelle. Some of these islands are beautiful. Some of them cost $5 million, maybe even more. Some of them cost $100,000. Why are people buying them, and are they buying them?
Island purchasing is quite an interesting dynamic in terms of property purchases. In our research, we've noticed that 41% of people who want a new home, usually a secondary home, they want some form of water. And obviously, you don't get better than that than with your own private island. So the reason water is important is usually for yachts. So a deep water dock is really important. And then obviously, there's the privacy component of it. So you've alluded to Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Privacy is a very key component to their purchasing. So privacy is key. Water is key. Then, of course, there's also the development opportunity as well. Some people want hotels. Some people want to build their own little, well, literally paradise. So there's a number of reasons, and I don't think that's going to stop. If anything, we're seeing an increase in this behaviour.
But you have to be quite careful about what you're buying here, as you said, depending on what you want to do with the island, because a lot of these islands, as you said, don't have access. They don't actually have any ferry.
That's right.
You know, ferry routes that hit them, so you'd have to have a boat as well, wouldn't you? Then you have to have the right type of dock to be able to moor that boat in. And there aren't any roads on some of these islands either.
No, I'll give you a great example. A friend of mine has an island in the Caribbean, and it's near the Bahamas. And there's only two ways to access it, which is obviously via boat. So you have to go from Nassau via boat. So you have to have a boat and a dock in Nassau. Then you've got a dock on your own island, or helicopter. So purchasing an island is not just a simple case of buying a house and buying a piece of land. You have to consider your own infrastructure. Obviously, water isn't necessarily... You might be surrounded by salt water, but fresh water is not necessarily a guarantee. So you might have to actually build the infrastructure for water as well. So there's a lot of considerations. It's a very considered purchase. It's not something you should just rush into. How
many private islands does somebody like Sotheby's International Realty sell? And could you give me any figures for Greece? I mean, you must have a few on your books as well for there.
It changes every day, obviously, because we've got people purchasing, selling, and so on. Actually, one of the biggest changes is really in the Caribbean. There's a huge demand still in the Caribbean. So whilst Greece is up and coming, there's a lot of discussion about Greece currently. The Caribbean has a constant flow and ebb and flow of traffic, and people really love living in the Caribbean. So I can't give you a specific number, but there is definitely an increase at the moment in this country. It's much more desirable than it's been in a long time.
And Greece, do you think that it's becoming increasingly desirable here?
I think Greece is, there's obviously an economic component to that. It's far more, it's easier to purchase. It's cheaper.
At the moment, because of the crisis?
Of course. But at the same time, it poses its other complexities because of political instability and economic instability. You don't really know the value of what you're buying, because what it costs today is not necessarily what it's going to cost tomorrow.
Isn't the reality, though, is that there's nothing that screams I'm filthy rich like saying, I've got a private island?
And I think that's true. Well, you could argue the yacht on the side of the island may cost more than the island. So
that's a good one. Thank you very much, Michelle. Thanks, Michelle van Vuuren, joining us from Sotheby's International Realty.